I'm Dr. Tamar Chansky, and today we're talking about back to school anxiety and how to help your child have a great start to the year. Every child has fears about going back to school. Every parent does too. We'll talk about that in a minute. But kids are in the midst of their protest about, saying they hate school or they don't want to go back, are a lot of fears about what it's going to be like. How we respond to that can be very helpful in moving kids along with this back to school transition. Usually what we say when our kids are worried about things, what is the refrain that parents always say? Everything's going to be fine, which is true, but it's not enough. For a lot of kids, they've got so much worry on their shoulders, their imagination's kind of running away with them about what it might be like, or they just have this free-floating feeling of something new's coming, and they're kind of gripping against that change. So let's talk about ways to be very effective with your child, because in addition to reassuring them that really the most reassuring thing that you can do is to teach them how their mind works. That's a skill that they'll have now and they'll be able to take with them throughout their lives. And the first way that our minds work is that we fear the unknown. That is a given. And so how we can respond when our kids are worrying about the start of school is, number one, to normalize that. Normalizing that fear doesn't make it bigger, it actually keeps it smaller, that you can say, you know what, I think everybody's worried about that too, even your teachers. If you're talking to a young child, you can adapt for older kids, but to make it clear that that's an expected part of what happens when we don't know exactly what's going to happen, that we feel fearful about transitions. If your child has been in school other years, it's helpful to then kind of go back with them and think about what happened the previous year, not in a I told you so or see there's nothing to worry about kind of way, but really in an open, curious way to say, I think last year you were worried too, and do you remember what happened? Let's see. About how long did it take before you felt comfortable in school? Making that assessment of when the transition will pass is helpful to kids. It really can, sitting in session with kids, I see the light sort of change in their eyes when I ask that question, because they'll say that they're so nervous about school, they don't want to go, they're afraid. But then I'll ask them how long they think it'll take to get used to it. And they'll, or how long it took last year, and they say, well, I guess by probably, 2 days. Some kids might say a week. For some kids, it might even be a few weeks. But the point is, they're not kind of walking the plank of this open-ended feeling of vulnerability and uncertainty and unknowns. There's a limit to it that they're aware of. You're not setting it for them, they're setting it for themselves. So we have normalizing and helping them to predict how long this change will take to happen. Importantly, we may guess what kids are afraid of, but every child, as with every adult, our fear is as unique as our fingerprint. There are common themes, but every child has their own twist on it. So instead of assuming what the fears are, part of your empathy can be asking in a non-judgmental way and say, I know that you're really worried about this. I hear that you're feeling worried right now. What's worry telling you? Or what's the part that you feel most worried about? Or what are you picturing is going to happen? And then you are going to help your child to list the fears and then fact check them and take each fear and help your child think through if they think, what they think is really going to happen in that situation. No one's going to like me. You say, I think really sounds like something that everybody feels in the beginning. Did you feel that last year too? Yes, and what happened? And so your child can learn from this experience, and it begins to generalize that worry is something that gets there first. We should expect it, but it's something to test instead of to trust. And we really need to go through and do the true-false test with each of the worries that your child is having, so that they can see how worry, it's trying to help, but it's just getting it wrong again. And join with your child to be the teacher, really, to worry of how things actually work. Stepping back from that, what this does is it helps you to separate your child from the fear. If you only just kind of take the fears at face value and say, well, that's not going to happen, that's not going to happen, your child doesn't have the opportunity to see, oh, okay, I have worry thoughts that come in, I can decide what to do with them. I can decide if they're important or not. When you instead refer to the worry as something separate, you can even ask your child to, give those worry thoughts a name. Then it helps your child to have that distance from their thinking and realize that they are empowered to make a choice about how they want to think about a situation. They get to choose which answer, worry's version or their version, is the one they think is more true and the one they want to stick with. Moving to more concrete ideas for ways to help your child. If in that fact-checking you come up with something, or your child comes up with something that they're actually, there may be some knowledge to fill or skill to fill in the blank with, then you can create an opportunity to practice or learn about whatever it is that they're afraid of. Some kids will say, I don't know how the cafeteria works, or I don't know where the bathroom is, or I don't know where the water fountain is. Things along those lines. I don't know how to work what if I don't know how to work my locker combination the first time I'm gonna have a locker? All those fears, kind of the other side of them, are their projects that your child can tackle and work on. I've had kids practice with their combination at home. They get more comfortable. I've had many, many kids go and visit school and make a map of where their classroom is, where the cafeteria is, where the bathrooms are, and bring that home, and that gives them a sense of security, but also true mastery. They're learning how what the layout of the school is. Another practical point is to make a connection with a teacher. If your child is worried about what the teacher is going to be like, you can visit the school and see if your child can do something helpful, like organize a bulletin board or help decorate in the classroom, something along those lines. Just go in and say hi, ask a couple questions, some friendly questions, maybe not even school related, asking the teacher what the teacher did for vacation, or if they have a pet, just starting to make a connection and some common ground there. So finally, all of this will work better if your child is not overtired. Summer, we can't help it. Summer for all of us is a time when bedtimes usually get more relaxed, and kids often come in with a bit of a sleep deficit because they've been staying up later and suddenly they have to wake up earlier. So one important way of helping your child have a good start to the school year is to begin, whether it's a month before school, or if that's time has passed, even if it's a week or a couple weeks before school starts, to begin to move the bedtime back to where it is going to need to be for the beginning of school. Setting up the stations for having lunches ready, thinking about menus for lunch, what your child is looking for, make sure that the backpack and lunchbox, those kinds of things are ready. A nice thing to create more of a sense of connection is to do some of that back to school prep with a friend or a neighbor, to go to the store and buy supplies, decorate books, lunch boxes, etc. with a friend. Misery loves company. Maybe it won't be so miserable doing those things together. And finally, think about this process as sharing the job with your child. A lot of parents, like I said, we have our own anxiety about back to school. We're thinking, oh, how am I going to get into the rhythm again of me getting up and getting ready early, or arranging those carpools. There are those unknowns, but remember that for you too, I have to do this with myself every year, that we do settle in, we figure it out, we settle into a rhythm, and so we will do that this year as well. And so if you can remind yourself of that and kind of keep your own worry out of the picture of what your child is dealing with, but with their project of getting ready for school, really see that as a collaboration. They'll appreciate that. They might grumble about it, frankly, in the beginning, because they just don't want to talk about anything about school. But the fact is, their anxiety will lessen as they engage with that project of getting ready for school. So you will be doing them a favor, even though they may not see it that way. That is often what parenting looks like, right? We have to do the things that we know are good for our kids, even though they would like to do probably anything else but that. So thank you for listening. Here's to a great school year for all. There's more information on my website, tamarchansky.com. And as always, here's to less worry all around.